Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel on YouTube. This is the next video I'm preparing and presenting here in front of all of you. This is with regard to a special demand which I've got from many of my students. Anubhav, can you put some lights on what could be a good DB design in S4 HANA system when we want to get started with a new custom Fiori application built? So we will look into this session. How can you design your DB in a way that it is extensible for future? It doesn't cause you any side effect in case if you want to add or remove more primary keys to your database. And how can you then expose this data design through the OData service to your Fiori application? In subsequent videos of this series, I will also discuss and demonstrate how to make a call from the Fiori application to this OData service to perform all the CRUD operations. Especially, we will put some lights on what is a batch request from the OData service and what is a deep insert. We will also look at how can you do deep insert using Fiori application. So let's get started and try to understand what could be a best DB design when it comes to S4 HANA system. So let's have a look at a typical way of creating database tables. So whenever we want to work with any custom design, we always first fetch in our database tables into the game. So let's take an example, a real productive example where I want to now design a software, and this software I want to design it for a company who is doing pizza delivery. So let's take an example for pizza delivery application where I want to go ahead and create a database design for delivering the pizzas as well as the orders. So if you look at the DB design, typically you can assume that there are three tables. One is the product table, where you have all the pizza information and the products which you are delivering, for example, cold drinks, pizzas, tacos, or burgers, or maybe sandwiches, or a different variety of pizzas. And then you have on the other side the orders table. Now, majority of the time in pizza delivery, we assume that there is always a majority of the time the customer is a walk-in customer. Customer moves into the store, do a takeaway or maybe have it here, kind of a delivery model, and then customer immediately make the payment for the order. And one particular order can have multiple line items because let's say I'm going with my family and I want to eat different pizzas. So I would probably eat maybe a cheeseburger pizzas with the garlic bread and two cold drinks. Yeah, something of that sort. So then definitely you need an orders table. And of course, for the orders, you will also have a line item table. So we'll call it as order line item table. Yeah. So this is a very simple DB design which you can imagine for a pizza delivery application where now you have a product, you have an order, and you have order items. So if you look at the relationship between these two tables or all these tables, you will find that you will have a relationship of type 1 to n between order and order line item table. So you will have maybe one order, and that order would have probably n number of line items, correct? And per line item, you will have a product associated to it where you will say, okay, in this particular order, I have ordered for two pizzas, one garlic bread and two cold drinks. So then accordingly, you will have a relationship per line item, one-to-one relationship with the product table. So if you look at if you talk about the columns of the database table, then how do you think the columns will be arranged? So let's have a quick look at the columns of these database tables, what we want to keep. So first of all, let's define our master data table, which is products table. So I want to typically have a couple of very interesting columns. I'll try to keep this example as simple as possible so you can understand what could be a good DB design for us. So let's go ahead and talk about product table. So I want product name, product category. Is it a soft drink or is it something which is eatable? Okay. And then I would have also the price of the product. And then I will have price and currency of the product. Okay, in which currency I'm going to deliver the product. Probably you can also have additional field like discounts, maybe a different subcategory for the products. You can have also the minimum order quantity for a product. All these things you can, of course, extend it based on your need. But bare minimum, this is what we need. Then moving on to the next table, if you want to design orders table, so you will probably have an order ID, which which you will use to identify unique order for customer. So you will have probably here an order number. Then you will have customer who has purchased this order. So maybe customer name. Then you will have maybe the information about the order time, date and time. So maybe just put the date of the order here, and I will put the date, time, or maybe customer name. And then I'll maybe say what is the total amount of the order, in what currency this was ordered. So that's something which we can also have it inside our database table. So let me add another column on the right side and call it as total currency in which the order was placed. Now moving next, we will have then items table, and each item table, as you know, that would have now a relationship with the orders table. So you will have, of course, the order table, and then you have line item number. Then you will say what is the quantity user ordered and what is the product which user has ordered, which you then can again find it in the product name table over there, right? So this is what you have it per line item, correct? So that's a very simple database design. 3 tables I had put it. Now, looking at the primary key, what is a primary key? The best definition is a column or collection of column which uniquely identifies a record. That's your primary key. So in this case, you would consider your order number and item number as a combination of a column as a primary key. Here would consider as order number as a primary key, and in this you will consider product name as a primary key. Now, what is the flaw of this DB design? What is the problem of this particular DB design when you proceed with your real implementation? So there's no problem as such just by looking at the DB design. It fits into the need, what we need to build an end-to-end application. But what about future extensions? Now let's take an example. What is the primary key for your order table? It's order number. So order number, let's say it's a sequential order number. So it starts with 1, 2, 3, and so on, which you might have seen in typical ERP system, your sales order number or a purchase order number, which points to a number range in a number range object in SAP, and then it keeps on incrementing every time you inject a new record. So that's a conventional DB design, what you find in your ERP system. What's the flaw? What's the problem of this DB design? The problem is tomorrow, let's assume you want to now make not just order number as a primary key. So what my requirement now from store is, so as of now, my store is running on this current DB design where order number is the primary key for my orders table. Now the store people wants to now switch to a better system, and what they want now is the store want order number no more be a primary key. Okay, they don't want this to be a primary key. What they want to start orders daily from sequence number 1. So watch here carefully the requirement. They want the order number to be started always with sequence number on daily basis, which means if I just quickly show you the records of this table, if I want to draw this over here, they want to daily start their business with order number 1. So let's say if I am on 1/1/2019, 1/1/2019, and then say 1/1/2019. This was the order on 1st of January 2019 we had. Okay, so this was your order on year 2019, 1st of January. The next day I open my shop again, I open my store again. I want order number to start from 1 again. And then it becomes 2/1/2019, 2nd of January. Again, the order number is 2/2/1/2019. And then you have order number 3/2/1/2019, and so on. So this is the requirement. Now you see primary key definition got violated by looking at this, because primary key says every record I should be able to identify uniquely, right? So if you made order number as a primary key in your old DB design, now you got to readjust your database table and make order number and date together as a primary key for your database table, because you see combination of these two columns makes it unique. That's what identifies a record uniquely. And then maybe in future further the store says I don't want I don't want just the order number and date as a primary key. I want customer name also. So I want for a particular day, if a customer has made 5 orders, I want for this guy order to be counted from 1. And if there's another customer who makes an order on the same day, then for him also the order number should start with 1 and 2 and 3. Then you would also have to again go back and change your DB design and make this also part of your primary key. And then if you keep on doing that, imagine where will you reach? You will not reach anywhere. It's a bad DB design. Yeah. So what is that we do? How can we solve this problem? It's a very common problem. So that's the reason we need to follow new. We need some an amazing technique. With the help of that, we can adopt our primary key in a better way. So I will say then, let's kill this concept out. I don't want any primary key. Then you say, Anubhav, you are crazy. If you say you don't want a primary key, what will happen? Yes, I'm saying I don't want a primary key. So what will happen if I don't have a primary key? Of course, then I won't be able to identify record of my table properly. That's one problem. That's absolutely fine. But then I would say I still have a primary key, but not something visible to the user. I don't want the primary key to be visible to the user. I will handle it manually inside my code. Okay, so I will have a technical primary key which I will myself manage in my code, and I will have a semantic primary key which is at the API level I will manage as a primary key. So API level making a semantic primary key at API level is always an advantage rather than putting the primary key at the table or exact table level. So what we will do is we will introduce in another column. Okay, watch carefully. So what I'll do is I'll just select this and I'm going to insert another column on the left, and I will just say technical primary key and let me give it as order ID. Remember, order ID and order number is different, and this is something a random 62-digit GUID. Okay, it's a 62-digit GUID. It's a random GUID which I will insert, and this is actually my primary key of the database table. Okay, then you'll say you are crazy. If you make this, how will I read the record? You can still read the record by your semantic primary key. So semantic primary key is something which you will control using your code. Inside your application code, you will manage this as your semantic primary key, and this remains the technical primary key. Okay, so here you will put a random GUID, a random number which is generated. It's a 32 character random number which you can keep on generating in SAP system. I'll show you the API, and with the help of that you can keep injecting the records. That is your uniqueness of the record just for the sake of primary key. But this is still inside the API layer. What you will code becomes or remains as your semantic key. And then since there is no physical constraint at DB level to make a primary key or not primary key, you can anyways adopt your DB design anytime by introducing new columns and managing at the code level the primary key rather than technical level in the database table. And same thing will happen at the item level also. Rather than having item number and order number combination as a primary key, you will keep an item ID that as a. So let me show you in this DB design how do you adapt. So you'll make it on the left and you will say item ID, and you will also have another column here which say order ID, and then you will see I will only and only make my item ID as my primary key. Okay, so I will be making item ID as my primary key. So rest all things I won't touch. Okay, oops, there's some problem. It's not working. The color formatting is causing an issue. Let me just make the whole table as similar. Yes, and now this is my actual key. Okay, this is my actual key in the DB. Same thing applies here. And I will have an order ID here introduced, which will be my primary key. That's my technical primary key for the table. And what will happen, we then can also have a constraint, which is a foreign key constraint, to find out which is the corresponding order for these items. So you can have now this item ID, again random generated GUID introduced in the table, but using traversing to the order ID, you will know that these are all the items which belongs to this order in the API layer. Similarly, product name, I'll follow same DB design just to keep the consistency. So what I'll do is product table also will have a product ID, which is a 32-bit GUID acting like a DB design primary key for the product table. So let me introduce that column. So right click insert on the left, and then I say product ID. This becomes my primary key for product. Yeah. And this becomes primary key for order ID table. And you see your foreign key constraint also meets the criteria. And similarly, now instead of having product name, you can have product ID. And of course, you can then calculate the gross amount sold also by referring to the product from the products table. So you have a products table over here, and you can refer to it. Clear to everyone what we are trying to do here? So this becomes a flexible DB design for you. You don't have to then, if in case tomorrow your company want to change the primary key, you can just make a change quite easily without really touching the table. It's just the code level. You can make a combination unique, make sure in the code there is no entry inserted in table at the code level, making sure that you don't have an entry inserted in database table with violating that code level primary key. Correct? So let's go to the system then and create our first this kind of DB design in the system. And also then I would write all the crude methods, create, read, update, delete in a particular class, and then we will use that class in our productive code to build the OData service, and then finally consume this OData service from a Fiori application. And then I will also show you the capabilities like deep insert when we want to insert data in two tables together from OData. How can we do that? All that we will be looking into the system in detail. Okay, so let's go ahead and achieve this. So I will connect to my S4HANA system. So that's my S4HANA system. I go to SC11 and and try to connect once again. And I just create a new database table. Remember, we will follow a naming convention for pizza delivery application. So our company name is, let's say, Best in Pizzas. So I just give a hypothetical name to our company. So let's follow the naming convention. Everything should start with Z, Best EIP, Best in Pizzas, BIP. Okay, that's a naming convention I want to refer to everything. So let's get started. Create our first database table ZBIP for products. Of course, your table design can go more complicated. You may have a customer table, different product table, again divided in different pieces, different product lines, streamlines, vendor information. You can store it, invoices, purchase orders, purchase invoices. It can go to so complex, so much complex. But I wanted to keep it so simple so you can at least understand the insights of this DB design. So ZBIP underscore products. Click on create. Let's say products. Best in business, and just create it as an application table, and all the tables are going to be client dependent tables. And I just say here product ID as my primary key of the table. That's my technical primary key, guys, as I was discussing. And just for keeping it simple, I'm not creating at all any of the data elements at this point of time in the system, neither domain. I'm just keeping the design so straightforward with direct typing system. So I just put char 32 as a 32-bit GUID, which we will be inserting as a primary key for this. Then we have the product name, and I'll put the product name as char 255. Then I will put, as we had noted down in a DB design, so name, product category. So I just put category as character 1. And then for this, probably I'll create a domain and a data element so that I can get the value helps. And then I will have also the price and the currency. So I say price. So currency, and then for currency code, I'll have CUKY. And as you all know, we have to also specify that what will be the possible currency key for every currency value. So let me just also switch to data element and just provide a quick data element, save it into local object and provide a data element ZBIP, data element DE, and I can then give a category over here, double click. Let's provide a category of the product and say care. And I also create a domain, guys. So just mention here domain, DO as a naming convention. Okay, fine. And I say domain. Just create it as a character 1 value range. And now I can maintain here the values with the types of products. So I can say P means pizza. It's just a pizza. I can further do veg, non-veg and all that. We can do it. So it's P means pizza. And then I can say dips. So cheesy dips or whatever dips we have it, like cheesy dips or mozzarella dips or probably your mayonnaise dips, all that comes under dips category. Then T means toppings. All the different types of sausages and masalas comes as part of it. C means combos. Then I will also probably maintain some more very small ones. So G means garlics. And S means soft drinks. So these are all the categories of the products I have it in the system. I will activate this now. Go back, activate the data element, keep going back, come back, save this, do a quick check. Looks okay, and you see there's a problem that we haven't specified the reference field for the price. So that's also something which we have to quickly do it. So I mentioned the currency code, save this and activate my table. Of course, I have to maintain technical settings in my S4 system for the database table. And what I'll also do is I'll quickly mark the category. So maybe I ignore marking the category for enhancement. At this point of time, my product table is ready. Now you can see the product ID, which is a 32-digit GUID, represents the technical primary key for this database table. Now moving next, we will create our orders table. Click on create, sales or pizza orders. Again, an application table, just allow the maintenance. And then first field is your client field. And then you will have here the order ID, which is also a technical primary key as mentioned, which is having a character 32 digits. And then let's come down here and look at the design order number. You can put an order number. With a sequence number, you can initialize it. Okay, with every order number, that's possible. So right now I don't, okay, maybe I'll put the order number as integer 4. And I will put also the date on which order was made. That's column for date. Then we can have the customer name. You can also link it with the standard SAP customer table KNA1, but I just don't want to do it. I will just mention the customer name because majority of my customers are walk-in customers. Of course, you can have a separate customer table and link it with this table. That's something which you can again do it. A customer table storing all customer master data, linking it here with the customer ID. That's something which you can do it. Then comes is the total amount of the order. So total amount. And I say integer 4, and then I don't want to put a currency, or maybe you can put currency also. Then in that case we have to put this as CURR and this one as my currency key. Let's put the value as 5 and save it in local object. Mention the currency and quantity field here for the orders, save it, and that's it. Looks nice. Let's activate the table, mention its application class, data class and category. Activate this DB design. error occurred. Let's see. You can see date is a reserved keyword. You can't put it date, so I can say order date. That's what I can put it. Okay. So let's go ahead and now activate this. So after activating this table, we will move to the next table, which is order items table. So you see it got activated now. Very nice. And I'm just now going to go to the next table creation, which is my order item table. So I say order underscore I. Maybe what I'll quickly do is make a copy of my order table and just add it I at the end. That makes it quite fast and easy for me to create the DB table. And I have many things ready made available. So that just include the item ID. And then again, a 32 character note over here. And then this only becomes my primary key, and order ID connects to my order ID field of my order header table. Then comes is the item number, which is just a sequence number. Then I would have also my product ID, what customer has purchased. So that will again pointing to my product table, which is of char 32-bit. And then total quantity, how much quantity the user is ordering for pizzas. So I say quantity. And as we all know that for every quantity field, you should have unit of measurements. So I just put unit of measurement for this quantity of order. And I just don't want this particular field anymore. So let's look at it. So we have order ID, order number, item number. Order number is no more required because you have a relationship. So you can fetch the order number from this relationship with the order ID, item number, quantity, and product ID. That much only we need. And I will now just activate this table as well. So let's activate the items table. And yeah, there's an error, and hopefully it is because of the length. So since its length is not specified, so let's just take quantity to 2 and unit of measurement to 3. Save this, do a check. Reference field is missing. Let's keep the reference field into the currency and quantity fields tab of our database table. So I assume that those who are watching this YouTube video, you already comes from ABAP background and you know basic ABAP, what is data dictionary, what is domain, what is a data element, all this stuff you are already aware of. So let's mention the field here for unit of measurement, save this, activate the table. So all three tables are now active, and this is what is extensible DB design, guys. Now you don't have to ever change your DB table primary key at all. Even though you are in production, any change to primary key is always risky for you, and something which is always brings you more and more risk on your project. So we should avoid doing that risk, and this is one of the best way of avoiding it by making sure the technical primary keys are in place for DB design. Let's now fill up the product table with couple of different variety of products. And then maybe we'll start with creating some order from the Fiori application, which we will build using OData. So I'll just switch to ZBIP and my products table. Go to change and just maintain some couple of records over here. So let me mention some product ID. Oops. So I don't know what product ID to mention here because I can't kind of generate the system generated GUID. So I have to write a small report program to insert some records in this table. So let's do that. So I'll come here to SE38 and write a simple report program, say ZBIP. And I will mention here maybe generate product and click on create. So create product for initial testing and just executable program. And now I am just going to insert the data. So let me create a couple of parameters where I will ask user to enter the product name, type my database table name, ZBIP underscore products hyphen product name, and then I just copy this line to create more, all my parameters which I need. So product category, product price, product currency, and I'll use here category as product category here, product price, product currency code. So all my fields are complete, and now I'm just going to insert them to a structure and hence finally to my database table. So ls product, type ZPIP products, and then what I'll do is I have to now generate the primary key. So you remember we have a 32-bit GUID, which is a random number which I want to generate as a primary key for it. So that's what I will be generating now with it. So I say this hyphen product ID equals to, there's a ready to use class CLUUID factory. This is the class I was talking about. You can use this class to generate random GUID of some characters. So I'll just generate this number of character, 32 character GUID, which is a random value every time it gives you, and that becomes my technical primary key value. The remaining fields, let's mention them, and then I just keep mentioning the name of the product, the category of the product, the price of the product, currency code of the product, and then yeah, I think we are done. And let's pass in our parameters. So product name, product category, product price, and finally currency code goes into the system. And then what I'll do is just fire an insert statement, insert into my database table values, and just pass in here ls product. Just do a check. Looks okay. Activate it. And now let's inject some records in our database table. So I come here. I don't have to now give my primary key field value. That's automatically generated by the system every time I insert a new record. And let me now insert some couple of products into the system. So my first product comes as a margarita pizza. So I say margarita. And you can see now a nice F4 is available for all the values which you maintain at domain level. So I say pizza, and I say 5,000 Indian rupees, or maybe I just say 190 Indian rupees for a medium size margarita pizza. Press enter, and you can click on save. The first product will be created in the system. Oops, sorry, just say execute, not save. Save would create a variant for you. Execute, and now it just quickly open another session in SE16N to show you data preview of my data, and execute, and voila, you see this random number, random 32-bit GUID, which is your technical primary key, has been generated, and the data has been created in your product table. Cool. So now let's add some more products. So next pizza comes as Spicy Delight, and this comes at a price band of, let's say, 275 rupees. Execute it. Got created. Next comes is double cheese pizza, and that comes as at a price band of 315. Save this. And then next comes is fresh and veggie, and this comes at a price band of 250 INR. And next comes is country special, and this comes as a 325 INR. Execute it. Finally, we have, let's say, farmhouse, that comes at a price band of 295 rupees. So many pizzas we created, and now it's time for creating some dips. So I will say cheesy dips, and this comes under category of dips, and this will cost me about 20 rupees for the dip. And then I can say mayonnaise, again it's a dip, 26 rupees. Execute it. and then maybe I just say Jalapeno, and it comes at 32 rupees. Execute it, and next comes is my some combos. So veg combo, and I just press F4, choose here combos, and say combo will cost me about 540 INR. And then there is also another combo called fresh from oven, and this will cost me about 650 INR. Cool. Now coming next, we want probably some more products of different categories. Let's say I want, let's say category of the product comes here, and you can choose now soft drinks or garlic breads. So let's use simple bread, and that comes about, let's say 95, and say garlic bread 120, and then I say cheesy veg bread, that comes under 200. And then finally soft drinks, so I say Coca-Cola, and that comes under a category of soft drinks, and maybe 20 rupees. PepsiCo 25, and say Thunder Bird 32. That's it. So many products we created. Let's have a quick look at the products available in the database table, and you see all these products under the different categories with different price band are now available in the system. So now the time to expose this data over a Fiori application. And for that, now you need to understand the new architecture of your Fiori based application. So just have a quick look at it. So what we have, our 3-tier architecture, where we have presentation, application, and database layer. Your presentation layer now is moving towards a browser based Fiori application, whether it could be a browser running on a desktop, tablet, or mobile device. That's your presentation layer now. Your application layer is still remains the ABAP application layer, and this has now got a flavor of your gateway system, which allows you to expose and create OData services. And then finally, you have your underlying database. So for this S4 HANA system, I have HANA DB as my database, and this is what I will be using as a reference. So now what ultimately we will be doing here is we will be creating an OData service, and then we will try to fetch the data from the OData service to our Fiori application. And finally, I will be building a Fiori application in the system, and that Fiori application will be displaying all the data, and it allows you to create, update, delete an existing order using pizza delivery application. Now, there are a lot of innovations happening in all these layers. So if you want to know more detail about what is a Fiori application, how to create it from scratch, you can subscribe to my UI5 and Fiori training. If you want to know detail about ABAP on HANA, what are all the different techniques to achieve best results out of HANA database working on an ABAP system, which includes concepts of CDS views, ABAP managed data procedures, SQL script programming on the front end, performance tooling improvement, SQL performance worklist monitor, different new syntax for SAP ABAP, all that. Please subscribe to my ABAP on HANA course. And if you want to learn how to build native HANA application, please subscribe to my HANA Access course. And overall, if you want to learn everything, you know the best place for that is my website. You can go to onlinefiorytrainings.com. You will find the best suitable course for your need, and then you can subscribe to the one which you are need. So that's a bare minimum need in today's industry. You would have to at least getting into one of these things to get yourself updated and keep working in the industry at this point of time. If you are an SAP BIBO consultant or CRM consultant or a WebDin Pro consultant or an ABAPer for that matter, or in fact a portal guy, these are all the new things which you really need to get into if you really want to work or gain some good promotions in upcoming days, or gain some popularity amongst your colleagues. This is something which is very, very minimal, very important. You need to learn. Okay, and this is all available on my website. All are hosted by myself. Okay, so Now let's switch back to our uh, architecture design. So let's expose an OData service here built on SAP NetWeaver Gateway on top of our database tables which are created. So what I'll do is I'll just start with the gateway project. Of course, you can also build it with the help of CDS view. CDS view allows you to create OData services right after the CDS view is defined. There are different techniques which I had discussed in my ABAP on HANA course. So more details, you can subscribe to that ABAP on HANA course. But here we will go with a simple gateway project to expose this data in the output. So let's get started to the gateway system. And then in the gateway system, I will be defining a new project and all the methods manually. So what we are trying to achieve, we will be implementing the CRUD methods which will create, read, update, and delete data from your database tables. So the transaction code is very simple, /n/iwfnd/ service. This is for registering the service. So you can register the service once it is created. So here is where you register the service, but before that you have to create it. So you have to go to SEGW and create a new service project over here. Just do that. A new service project for our pizza delivery application. So let's provide our project name, Z Best in Pizzas, and I'll just name it as OData, and I just say OData service for Fiori application, and I'm just going to create in a local object and just quickly add the entity types here from my database tables. So I'll quickly import the data dictionary structure right away here to create my entity types. That's the best and easiest way to create quickly your entity types in OData service. So just right click on the data model to import your data dictionary structure as an entity type to your service project. Okay. So let's say import data dictionary structure, and now I'm going to quickly create all three of my entities and also define the relationship between them with the help of this. So let's do that. So I say first is products and Z Best in Pizza products. Say next. Except mandate field, I will expose all the properties out. And of course, my primary key for the entity is also same as what we have in our database table. Okay, now let's add another one. So right click once again, say import data dictionary structure, and I say orders. And then I will also mention my table name, ZBIP orders. And of course, my primary key is order ID. And then what I'll also do is finally import my items structure. Item ID, finish. And there you go, you can see all the entities are created quickly. Save this, just do a syntax check. If there is any error by any chance, a web type is more restrictive, conversion error possible. Okay, here you can see it's just giving me that this type is more restrictive in nature. There could be a conversion error which may arise because you're using a decimal type in this over here. But that's okay, we want to keep it. And just save this. And now it's time to generate runtime artifacts. So runtime artifacts gets created for an OData service where you will generate later point of time all your code. So let's generate it. And oops, it's giving me still the error, and that's because of this data type. So maybe I will try to change the data type to something different, maybe an integer 16, and just keep it 00. Save this, do a quick check. Okay, that's not allowed. Maybe I have to switch back to decimal. 830 to save. Check here. So I think the problem is because it has picked up more decimal scale rather than what is it is supported. So I think we have to change it to 6 probably and 2 decimal places. Let me press enter and save this and do a check. And yes, you can see the error is gone for one of the entity. Now I double click on the another one. It highlights the entity where we have an issue. And I think here also we have to reduce it to 0 maybe. Let me try. I think it's because of scale. Maybe just reduce it to 2. Yes, you can see the error is gone. Now we can generate runtime artifacts. Let's click on this button, and now it's proposing me the class name which will be created for me. So those who don't know basics of OData, please subscribe to my UI5 Fiori training where I've explained in detail what is the runtime artifacts, DPC, MPC and stuff like that. Right, I'm just generating it, and I will be then writing quickly the code inside my DPC extension class for performing the CRUD operations on different entity sets. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'll do is now I just copy the project name and switch to its DPC extension class in SE24. Go for change. And now we will write all the code necessary to perform the CRUD operations on the orders. So you can see here we have order item. So let me create order item, entity method. So basically I'm going to implement right now blank implementation for everything. So that's what I'm creating, a blank implementation for every of the method. So blank implementation for every of the CRUD method on different entity sets which we have. I'm just creating it. Okay, great. Save this. Let's do a quick check. Activate the code. So blank implementation is now provided for each of the method. Let's click on the filter button to only see the methods which we need an implementation now to be done. And you see the filter now filters up only the methods which are implemented. And now I can go ahead and quite easily maintain the implementation for each of them. So let's get started with first getting the product information. We don't want to create right now the product from the Fiori app. Hence, I'm not providing implementation for create, delete, get, and get entity set and update for the product. I'm just giving it for get entity set and get entity. So in the get entity set, what I'll do is I'll return all the product information. So simply I will look at the signature, and you can see it's compatible with the database table. So I can just say single select star from my ZBIP products table into table ET entity set. That's it. Save this. Let's go back. And now I'll also implement this get entity method where I will get the product ID as an input, and this product ID as an input which I will pick it up. I will also supply to my database to read that single product ID. So I just fire a read statement. If you want to understand more detailed discussion about what am I doing here, please subscribe to my Fiori training where I've explained in detail what is a no data service, how do we work with it, what is a DPC class, what is an extension class, what do you mean by this IT key tab? All that is covered in detail in my training. So I'm just providing an implementation for reading the key property, index 1, and then I'll just mention my database table, data LV product, type care 32, and then I'll just read the product ID from my key field. And then finally write a select statement. Select single star from ZBIP products into corresponding fields of ER entity, what I want to return back, where product ID is equals to LV product, which I have received it from the user. Let's do back, save it, do a quick check, activate it. So my first entity set is ready. Okay. So let's implement now the create method for creating a new order into the system. So I go to the create entity method, and I'll first read the data which is being supplied from the user interface to create a new product, and then ultimately we'll be creating this product on the system. So what I'll do is I use the IU data provider object, and using this data provider object, I'm going to read the data what has been supplied into the request, and that comes to my entity structure. And this entity structure more or less matches with the structure what we have in the database. So I just do move corresponding from entity structure to my LS order structure. And then finally, we will be just going ahead and inserting this record into the database table ZBIP orders table from values. This is structure and this is into. Yeah, so that's the right syntax. Similarly, you will also have a create method for order items, and then you fetch the item, get the item information, and then update the items into the system. So let me just go back and also provide a get method for the order. That's very important. So I also did a mistake, I think, in create. I forgot to declare my ls order, which is of type my ZBIP orders table. Yeah. And now just go back and provide get and get entity for all the orders available in the system also. So I just do a get method to read single order information. So I'll just do a get method for reading single order information, wherein I will be getting this information about the primary key of the order, and then of course I'm going to return the data. So this is more or less same get method implementation like in products. So this is all typically you'll have in your API layer, not directly in the DPC extension class, but just for the purpose of understanding, I'm explaining it, putting the code directly in DPC, but you will have it maybe into a function module or into a class, and then call the class and the function module from here. That's what you would be doing. So let's go to the order set and put this code. And that's again gives me an ID, 32 character order ID, and this just replace this with the table name for orders. And then you have, of course, the order ID, which would pass this data back to the user. So that's my read implementation. And then I come back here to get all orders. And then it's very simple just to put select star from ZBIP orders into corresponding fields of ET entity set. And similarly, I want to define association. So you won't read all the items related to all the orders. You would need to display the items which are belonging to this order, and that's why you need an association. So we will define an association, and then when we want to get the items of a particular order, we will be using this get entity set method, where I would read first the key value as order ID, and for that order ID all the items should be sent back. So our implementation should be reading all the data from items table into corresponding fields of ET entity set, but this should be only where order ID matches with the order ID what user supplies. So LV order ID, and that's something you're going to get in again in your condition for IT key tab, where order ID will be supplied by the user. So you'll just read the IT key tab for the order ID, and this order ID will be then given to the items table to read the data. Yeah, so that's your items implementation for getting the items for a particular order. And now Let's also write a create method where I want to create a new item, and more or less the implementation remains same. I should get the order ID and item ID. Sorry, item ID will be automatically assigned to the system. So I will go here to order set create, and you see that we will get to create the order ID automatically because that's my primary key, and that's something which we will use an API available in ABAP to create this ID. So primary key should be inserted or created automatically during the create method. And then similar code goes for items. Whenever we want to create a new item, we would need the order ID for the item, and then order will be created under that item. So let's go to create item, put the similar code here, and this time the item key is what should be generated automatically. So it's the items table this time, and then insert should be on the items table, and this should be the item ID, which is the primary key. So yeah, that's my piece of code. And what I will also do is I need to automatically assign an item number. Yeah, but right now I'm not taking care of item number and order number in the database table. I'm simply going with the GUID as a primary key. Let's save this, and so ls entity to ls order, that's good. And then we just assign an item ID, and then we create an item into the database table. Let's do a quick check for our basic implementation. And yes, we have a couple of issues which we have to now look at. So I come here and say read data ls entity is unknown, but there is a field with the name. Okay, I forgot to declare this. That's very important. I have to just declare this data, this of type Z CL ZBIP OData MPC, and then I will just put here TS order items. Similarly, I have to do the declaration in other methods also, because that's what is used to read the data from the provider. And this should be in the table. So a couple of basic ABAP syntax errors. And yes, this has to be declared of type TS orders. Now, understanding of this DPC and MPC implementation is all what you should learn from our UI5 and Fiori course. This is something which I am not explaining here more in details. But yes, those who have attended my course already knows it, because this is a video for one of the student who asked me a question, how will my best DB design should look like, and how can I then consume it in my Fiori application. So there you go. You're ready with the your DPC extension implementation, where you have creation of an item inside an order. You have creation of a new order is also implemented. You have a get single order implemented, and get of multiple orders available in the system also implemented. So just for testing purpose, let me create a one order in the system, just one order in the system, and also some items inside that order quickly. So what I'll do is I'll just go back to our report program which we were earlier using. So I say z demo bip, okay, z bip underscore, I forgot the report name, here it is. Yeah, generate product. I make a copy of this report and I say generate order. Yeah, so this we will use to just generate one single order in the system for the testing purpose. Okay, so I will just come here, and now I will hard code the data guys in this. I won't go so much of parametered way to create this. So then I will just quickly go ahead and hard code the data for my order and the products. So I say ls order type ZBIP orders, and then I will also create LT items type ZBIP order items, And what I'll do is I just create a new order ID at runtime. Here you go. I'm creating a new order ID at runtime as a GUID, and that's my order ID. And then I will pass different parameters for the order which I need. So let me pass customer name, and I say cash customer, walk-in customer, and just pass here order date as current date. Then I will pass here order ID, order number. I will pass as numeric 1, and total amount I will just keep it right now 0. And then I will also just check if we have currency, of course, that I will pass as INR. Okay, so that's my order table. And now I'm going to inject this data into the database over here. And let me now also create a couple of items for my table. So what I'll do is I'll just use new ABAP syntax to insert some items into the table. So I'll use my items equals to value hash, and that's a new ABAP syntax to create data inside internal table. As you all know, this is something is also covered in my ABAP on HANA course. Here we can specify multiple items inside this records. So let's pass the multiple item values. So for every order, the order ID will be same. So first of all, we need order ID. For every of the item record, I would have same order ID to which this item will be pointing. And every item, the item ID will be unique. That is something, the GUID which you will generate for every of the item. Okay. So that's what we'll be doing. So I pass here item ID equals to this GUID class. Let me make it little better formatting so that you can understand this. So that's my record here. One record I am creating for one item. Okay, and then that's my first value. Then I have my order ID, which I will take it to the order ID generated on the top. Then product ID, I will be getting hard-coded product ID from my product table. So let me just quickly look at the product table and get some particular product IDs to be added to my record. Let's go to the data preview, and I'll pick Margarita as a product ID. So this is what customer has ordered first. Then customer has ordered also the quantity, and I'll say he has ordered 1 margarita, and then unit of measurement equals to piece, PC. 1 piece customer is ordered, and then item number, I can just put it 1. So that's my one record of data. Clear? And now I can have similarly more records of data in place. So let me create another record of data, and then another record of data. So these are all my 3 records which I am now inserting into the table of items table. Okay, so let's prepare this record with different products which we want to insert. So let's say customer is then again ordering some other product, maybe a double cheese pizza, and then 1 Japalino. So 1 Japalino, 1 double cheese pizza, maybe I'll just add a PepsiCo, and I will add 2 PepsiCo pieces into this order. So that's my items table values which I have generated, and now I'm just going to insert the data into items table. So insert into my items table values, this internal table. Do a quick check. There's a problem here into the syntax. Let's quickly check what's the issue. Okay, I guess we need to split up these records quickly. So maybe just let me do that. I'm just going to remove this guy here. And this should be my first record which I'm inserting in my internal table. Okay, let's do a check. Yes, it works. And then let me just also put my second 2 records quickly over here. and I just mention my value hash for this, and maybe this one. And let me just take the same over here as well. Done. Let's save this, do a check. And to be very sure before inserting, I would also add quickly here a breakpoint. Okay, maybe I think I'm doing a mistake, guys. I should not assign this value. I should append the value to my internal table so that it doesn't get replaced. So that's the right one which I have to do. Otherwise, it would replace all of these records. Okay, very important. Yeah, I do a check. Okay, it's not an internal table. You can see this is defined like a structure. So type table of, and I think that's why my earlier syntax was not working. And then table statement. So insert this from table. Yes, that's the right syntax to insert the data into the database table. We are good. Let's activate and run this report. This should create at least one order in the system and some line items for that particular order. Let's go to the orders table and now check out here the order which is available. And you can see the order has been created in the system. I take the order ID and now go to the items table and see what are all the items for this particular order with the GUID. So I go inside, put the order ID here, and it will then show me all the 3 line items which I have it inside this order available. Wow, superb. So that's what has been created. Now I'm just going to quickly write a Fiori application on top of it because my get, read, get single, get, as well as create methods are in place in my OData. So let's create the OData service and consume it in Fiori app to display the order on the UI. So what I'll do is just go to my SAP Web IDE Personal Edition. So those who are new to UI5 and Fiori, please subscribe to my UI5 course. You can also go to my YouTube channel to find out free videos about SAP UI5 and Fiori. So just search for SAP UI5 Training. You will find my channel, and there you go. It's the second one. You can go to directly my Anuba Oberoi channel, and then you can search for playlist. And in the playlist, you will find some free videos how to get started with your development environment on SAP Web IDE. So you'll see there will be a video how to get started with Web IDE. I think, in fact, the first video itself is about Web IDE, and maybe you can just go here. Getting started with SAP Web IDE for Fiori Part 1 Web IDE Personal Edition. This is the video which you can use to set up your SAP Web IDE system. In this, I had also explained how to configure your gateway system to be connected to SAP Web IDE Personal Edition. I had already done that connection into my local computer. Hence, I would just have my infrastructure ready to create the Fiori application for this OData service. So let me just go ahead and create a new Fiori application for pizza orders. So I come to my SAP Web IDE, right click on workspace, create a new Fiori project from template. I want to go ahead with the master detail application, say next, and I say Justin Pizza. Okay, I have to give a project name which should not have any space or a special character. So same naming convention we are following, Justin Pizza. Let me just check. It's BIP, Best in Pizza. And I say Pizza app. Click on next. And now I will just choose my S4 HANA server where I have my OData service. But before that, we have to register our OData service which we had created. So let me go to /n. And then from here /iwfnd/main service transaction. And since I don't want to type it again and again, I just copy this transaction code and add it as a favorites transaction. So insert a favorites transaction as this one. and just go inside, click on add service. I'm going to register it with my local alias and just put my service project name. It was Z Best in Pizza, OData, press enter. And of course, you have to put SRV at the end, because whenever you create a OData project, underscore SRV is the name which system will assign to it as an external service name. So now I have to register it. It's a one-time activity. So once my OData is registered, I can quickly go ahead and search for the service. So let's filter. It's Z Best in Pizza, OData, SRV. There you go. You can call the browser and just have a look at the OData response. What is the entity sets available inside your OData? So you see your 3 entity sets for product, order, and order item is available. What is an entity set? What is an entity type? How an OData behaves? All that is explained very well in my training from very scratch. So please subscribe to my UI5 and Fiori training for the same. But for time being, if I just want to see what are all the products available in the system, I can call here product set and pass here the type is JSON. Press enter. And oops, there is a problem. A resource not found called product set. Did I do some mistake? Let me be very sure. It's products set. S is there, guys. I missed one S, and that's why it's giving me an error. So I just take it as it is, products set, and put the JSON format. And let's have a look at the data. Press enter, and you can see all the pizzas which are there in the system, which customers can purchase, are now available from my OData service. Okay, now let's look at the orders. So I just come here and search for orders set to see all the orders. And you can see there is only one order at this moment in the system. Now, probably I want to now know what are all the items for this order. And that's something which we will only get once we define association between these two entities. So I go back to our service project and define association between my order and order item, because they are related, very important. So let's define this association. So I come here, and first of all, you have to go for change mode and create an association between order and order items. So I say order items, and then my principal entity set is orders. My dependent is order items, because I want to read order from order item. It's a one-to-one relationship, because one order can have multiple items. And I want to also create an association. So I say order to items association, navigation property gets created, and then I just have to specify the primary key of both of them. Say next, and we should be good to define this association. So I have already done the coding in my get entity set method, where I extract the order ID from the incoming request, and corresponding to that order ID, whatever items are available, I am returning them as a response. So that's the association we are now defining at the project level, so that I can now show you in OData service that when I try to access the navigation property, it reads all the corresponding items for that particular order and shows it to me. Okay, for also simplicity purpose, we can create one more order in the system and see that it should not show me the items of order 2 in order 1. Instead, it should be based on completely on the order ID. Only for that particular order ID, it should pull the items. So that's something which you can try this out. But right now, for time being, I'll just go ahead with one association between order and order items. Similarly, between order item and product also, we can have an association. It's a one-to-one association, which tells me that, okay, this particular product was ordered by user, and this is the name of the product which was ordered. Okay, that's something which we can do it, but not right now. Okay, let's see what happens now. So now it reaches to next screen, and I say finish, and then I would just say generate. So it's taking a little bit of time because it's a fresh system, and then it's just doing all the compilations necessarily. Okay, so there's an error here. It says association name is not unique. Association set is this not unique. Okay, so there is a problem in the naming convention which I use. It's saying something is not unique. So let me be sure what is that it expects me to be unique. So association name, this is not unique. Okay, so you can see here, guys, our association name and our item entity set name have gone same actually, and that's why it's creating a problem. I delete it and recreate quickly. So I click on create and I say order item association, and then here this should be orders, this should be items, this should be 1 to n cardinality, and then I say order to items, click on next. Okay, since the navigation property exists, it's not allowing me. So let's say nav order items. That's a navigation property name. And yes, now we can again provide quickly the primary keys of both the entities and say finish. Yes, finally it's done, but we have something available in the system which I have to kill because this would create a problem. So the old association and navigation property is causing an issue, so I just have to delete it to clean up, do a quick check, and it says association must not be initial, association set name, this is not unique. Again, it's giving me some error, I think. Order item set, let me check. So to solve this issue, maybe I double click on this error which is coming, and let me double click, and you can see it has created an association set which was not deleted. So let me click on it and manually delete it. So now we have everything cleaned up. And now you also see another error here. This is something causing an issue. Order items set. This was also an entity set created. Let me just save this and check it. Yeah, now I think it's all unique. So no more errors. Let's regenerate. So association gets created between order and order items. This association is very important for us to read the information about corresponding item of an order. So let's go ahead and now experience it on the user on the OData call from the browser. So when I now run and get the order information, I will get the order information, but from the same order information, I can actually navigate to the order items information. That's pretty simple. So let me quickly show you the output in this XML format, and now you can see the link has been created with the order items. So I can use this link and navigate directly to my items of this particular order. So you can see this is the primary key of the order ID which we have kept at the table level, making it possible to read the order data, and for that particular order data all the items should be read. So let's see this on the JSON format, and you see all these 3 items which you had ordered in that particular pizza delivery order is visible to you. So that's the power of association. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just quickly create a Fiori application on top of it. So let's come back to our Web IDE, and now I will choose our OData service using S4 HANA server. So I search for S4 HANA server, and then I say Z best in pizza, and my OData service I choose, say next, and I say title pizza, I say best in pizza app, and say pizza, and say best in pizza as a description of the app, and let me choose the collection as order set to be displayed in the master screen. The collection ID is order ID. The order title I would like to showcase as customer name. I want to also put total amount as the number and measurement unit as currency code. Then coming to the line item details, you can see it has already picked up the association for a line items. We'll show the item ID as the ID, item number, what customer has ordered is the quantity, and then quantity unit is what I will display. Click on finish. We are done. Congratulations, your end-to-end Fiori app with an OData service is ready with the best database design in SAP HANA system. Let's execute this Fiori application to see what do you get as an output. So you see it's asking me to provide my credentials for S4HANA system now, because it's trying to fetch the data from my real productive OData service. So let me provide that. Click on OK, and voila, you see one order, you have it for walk-in customer. It's displaying, and all the items of that particular sales order is also displayed over here. Yeah, so this is a very simple example, end-to-end, where you create one OData service from scratch, created a database design, on top of it created an OData service, on top of it created a Fiori application using Web IDE. If you want to now change this Fiori app, you need to have expertise in Fiori. You need to understand MVC architecture, different concepts, which includes fragments, formatters, MVC architecture, different models like JSON, XML, OData, resource. Then you should know about different types of views, XML, JSON, HTML, JavaScript, different basics of HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, a variety of concepts related to UI5, component.js, router, route match handler, manifest.json, custom control, test HTML, OPA test. Then you should also know mock server, Neo app JSON, basics of Web IDE, getting started with SAP Web IDE, and all that is covered in my UI5 and Fiori training. I will make you an expert in UI5. In those 40 hours or 45 hours of UI5 training, I start with the very scratch, very basic, and keep your knowledge till the last level, so that you can code even this Fiori application from scratch without making use of template. So don't get attached to trainers who are teaching you copy paste. They are just getting rid of their responsibility. You need to learn from trainers who teach you every single line of code, and that's what exactly I do in my course. I will not teach you creating app from template, rather than I would teach you how to code it. Okay, so so that you understand every single artifact to be part of a Fiori application. So in the next session, we will understand what is a batch request. How can you fire a deep insert to the OData entity, and we will then see how can you export this application from Web IDE and import in as an Eclipse project. So majority of the companies are still using Eclipse. So you want to get started with a Fiori project, you would probably start with the trial version of Web IDE, use that trial version of Web IDE and create your first project, and then deploy this or check out this project in Eclipse, and then start your regular development using Eclipse IDE. So that's what something also in the pipeline. Stay tuned for my YouTube channel. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube, share, comment. Your comment always helps me to keep going and getting more and more content. That gives me my feedback, that gives me an opportunity to understand how much you are liking my content. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video. If you give me more give me 100 likes on this video. If I'm getting 100 likes, I'm going to create more videos. So give me 100 likes on this video. You will get more free content on my channel in this learning series. With that, thank you so much for attending this session. Have a nice day and see you in the next video. Goodbye.